The next day, Celestia was woken up from someone shaking her tent. Having to wake up so early, she was still a little groggy. Digging around in her pack, Celestia grabbed some dried meat to eat for breakfast. Packing her sleeping gear into her pack, she pulled it out of the tent. With a piece of meat between her teeth, Celestia saw that everyone else was taking down their tents. A couple of them, including Sarah, called out to her and wished her a good morning. In a couple of minutes, her tent was already taken down and attached to her pack. When everyone was ready to depart, they continued on their journey towards the fields. The grass still had morning dew on them, which made her shoes all wet. From her experience in the forest, Celestia was glad that she got shoes that could hold out against the morning dew. There wasn't anything worse than wet shoes, which could lead to blisters on her feet. With her magical abilities, she could use her fire magic to dry out her shoes, but thought that it would waste a lot of time and leave a bad impression with the group. The sun was starting to reach its height when they reached the fields. Earlier, Sarah had shown her some of the hand signals they used in the field before taking off ahead of them. With her job as a scout, she usually went ahead of the group to let them know if any trouble was coming their way. Later, when they saw her coming their way, they began to ready themselves. Usually Sarah would wait for them to come to her if there wasn't anything in front of them. There were maybe 5 of them, but they looked like low-level creatures, so we should have no problems with dealing with them, Sarah let them know. There were a group of monsters ahead of us. There were maybe 5 of them, but they looked like low-level creatures, so we should have no problems with dealing with them, Sarah let them know. Nodding his head, Frank spoke to the group. You heard Sarah. We will be facing a group of monsters. Even though they are low-level monsters, I want all of us to approach them with caution. Sarah will go ahead and draw a couple of them towards us. I want Al and Pete to stand on the left side, while Chris and Abby will be on the right side. When the monsters get into the center, both sides will attack the monsters near them. Looking at Celestia, Frank said, I want you to stay behind me in the center and cast fire spells at the beasts. Everyone in the group nodded in agreement. There was plenty of high grass on the field, so the people assigned to the sides would be able to crouch down and stay hidden. The way they moved let Celestia know that this was something they had done numerous times. When they were in position, Frank signaled Sarah to draw the monsters towards them. Raising her bow, Sarah knocked an arrow and drew the string. Aiming at the nearest monster, Sarah fired the arrow. Hitting one of the creatures in the head, she quickly ran back towards the group and stood behind Celestia. Looking like people on their hands and feet, the monsters were the size of a full-grown adult but with leathery-looking skin and a skull-like head. Half the group scampered towards them. Seeing Frank carrying a tower shield, they headed straight for him. Celestia, it's your turn now, Frank told her. Moving from behind Frank, Celestia took up a fighting position with her staff. Gathering the mana from deep inside of her, she began her spell. Go and burn all enemies ahead of me. Firebolt! Ahead of her staff, 4 bolts appeared and streaked towards the monsters. Only half the bolts hit. The 2 monsters that were struck by her magic were flung back, with the bolt embedded in them. Screeching in pain, the monsters tried to get back up, but were a lot slower than previously. The one remaining rushed towards Frank and clashed against his shield. Now! Frank shouted towards the 2 groups hiding before pushing the monsters off of him. Using his sword, Frank swung the blade down and hit the monster on its shoulder. Black goo came squirting out of the creature. Even with the sword stuck in its shoulder, the beast continued to try to attack Frank. Using his boot, he kicked the creature away and pulled out his weapon. Throwing away his shield, he rushed the creature and plunged the sword into the creature's chest. It fell onto its back, no longer moving. When Celestia looked, she saw that the other two groups had taken care of the remaining two that were hit by her firebolt. When the three monsters were killed, they went after the remaining two. Celestia shot another series of firebolts and finished them off. "Everyone did a great job," Frank congratulated everyone. Though the group wasn't very large, the stress of fighting against monsters had sapped their stamina. Everyone looked tired and glad that the fight was over. Dragging the corpses into a pile, they started to dissect them. When Frank saw the confused look in Celestia's eyes, he told her, "Various parts of these monsters can be taken into the guild's warehouse. They store the parts to be categorized and sent to individuals who use them. If we take care of the bodies ahead of time, the guild usually gives us a bigger reward." Understanding the importance of this job, Celestia said, "Even though hunting monsters is dangerous, it seems like a worthwhile venture." Yes, many industries rely on adventurers to go and hunt monsters to gather these ingredients. Sarah agreed with her. "What did you think about your first experience in hunting monsters?" she asked Celestia. "It seemed very organized, how everyone had a part to play in. I hope that you will take me out to experience this more," she asked the group. "I'm glad you felt that way. You have strong magical abilities, so we look forward to working with you," Frank told her. "We often go hunting monsters usually in this area, so you're invited to join us. When we reach the city, each of us goes our own way and meet up the next day at the same time. If you're still interested in hunting with us, you're free to meet us at the entrance." "Thank you. I look forward to going out and hunting more monsters," Celestia said to the group. The way back to the city was a bit more casual, considering there were likely no monsters in their path. Sarah still scouted ahead of them, but the people in the group were more lighthearted and talked about what they were going to do with their money. Instead of camping at night, they continued past when the sun went down. In the distance, Celestia could see the city lit up at night. Coming back home after a successful hunt was a good feeling. Several days had passed since the school trip into the forest. Han was walking around the city, enjoying the nightlife. Many people were having fun at the various pubs and restaurants. Compared to the inner city, the outer seemed more welcoming. Wanting to see the city by himself, Han had left behind Helenia, Queen, and Brittany, in addition to both Anaklis and Rasia, who had arrived in the city ahead of him. Considering he had taken care of the monsters inside the nest, he thought it would be better for them to go towards the city instead of meeting with him while he was in the class. Thinking about the school trip, Han chuckled to himself, thinking about that girl. With the way she was acting, it was evident that she had developed feelings for him. Developing a scenario like that was the reason why he had not killed off all the monsters or let Brittany handle all of them. With that girl's arrogant personality, he thought it would be interesting to see where it would go with her. Even though he had his creations, Han didn't have much experience where he was the one holding all the cards in the relationship. So he was curious as to what it would be like. He remembered how people talked about the suspension bridge effect, where the girls in dangerous situations would develop feelings for their savior. Han recognized that he had a weakness for arrogant girls, but this would usually put him into bad relationships. So he decided to try this out on someone that lacked life experience and lived inside of a bubble. Seeing a pub that he would enjoy, Han walked into the establishment. The double doors were open to invite new customers coming into the pub. Inside the pub looked vastly different from those on Earth. Instead of having TVs all over the place and playing music, there were tons of tables with people just talking and a little decoration to be seen. Even though it didn't look like a place that had a lot of money, the exposed wood gave a peaceful feel to it. There was the occasional loud laughing or a mug falling to the ground after someone had one too many to drink. A cute waitress approached him and asked, "How many are there going to be with you?" "It'll just be me tonight," he answered, flashing her a smile. Blushing a little, the girl directed him to a seat at the bar. Han thought it was interesting how the bar looked like those on Earth. There was a solid plank of wood that was polished with a female bartender fetching people drinks. Behind the woman, there were several bottles of varying shapes and sizes. As he enjoyed the view of the place, the bartender approached him. "What will you be having?" the woman asked him. "What do you recommend?" he asked, unsure of what they served inside this fantasy world. "We have some fermented nectar called Sweetie. It may not be strong, but it is a favorite for many," she informed him. "I'll try that." Han placed a gold coin onto the bar. Seeing him casually set a significant amount of money on the bar, the bartender said, "Sir, a Sweetie is only worth 15 coppers. Waving his hand to indicate that it didn't matter, Han answered, "Just keep bringing me something to drink, and anything remaining will be a tip." "Thank you," the woman said with a smile. She began mixing various liquids into a mug and placed it in front of him. Taking the coin, the bartender tucked it between her breasts. Han took the mug and drank a little of the contents. It reminded him of mead, but a little harder taste to it. There were some fruity flavors mixed in, which was probably what she added. Enjoying the relaxed atmosphere, Han comfortably sat there while drinking his beverage.